Hey, welcome back to video number 2. Thank you so much for doing this. If you didn't get video number 1 about our favorite customer tool, please go check that out. We'll put a link down below, but let's jump right in. So this is the part where we sort of kick out the fluff a little bit and we dive into how we execute this process, okay? So I'm gonna, again, move my noggin out of the way here and dive in, okay? So let's get the screen just a tiny bit bigger here. Okay, so what's going on here again? Let's just recap really quickly. So what we're doing is we're trying to be intentional about who we want to work with, okay? So, and the idea here is that if we work with the kind of people that we want to work with as opposed to that we have to, that will be much more effective in our day-to-day life. We'll be much happier. We'll probably make more money. We'll have more fun with our kids and our spouse and our everything. Everything will be better if when we go to quote unquote work and or we're running our business, that we're dealing with and working with folks that we want to work with. It's just really that simple. It's not about being silly about breaking this stuff down in a negative way. It's all about just trying to align ourselves with the people that we want to be aligned with. I'm sure you've heard the quote that's been said 1,000 different ways at this point, but it says something along the lines of that we are the average of the 5 people that we're around the most. So if we have the opportunity to control who it is that are our customers, which we do, then why wouldn't we do it? It just seems kind of silly. So what we did is we created this for ourselves a really long time ago, and encourage you to work through this process as well. It's really quite simple. It takes a little bit of time because it just does. It's a foundational part of your business, but it is very instrumental in making everything click as we move forward. So here we go. Please don't miss this. This is a big deal, okay, guys? So again, here we go. And if you ever want to reach out, put a link down below. If you want to do a consultation call, find out the other things we have going on, absolutely do that. I'll put that down below as well. So here we go. We're going to dive in. So a lot of this is somewhat basic stuff, guys. So we have age, we have income, we have price point. Like, this is a big deal, everybody. So when I don't know if you have our other tool where we talk about measuring. We have the ROI calculator and a couple other ones where we can look at the goal setting tool and the ROI calculator. Both have the opportunity where we can play around with our brokerage split, number one, our typical commission split, say 2.7 or whatever it is in your neck of the woods. It's a little bit different everywhere, but for the most part, 2.7 is close. And then also, what's the price point, right? So why would we convince ourselves we have to do $150,000 houses if we don't? That's kind of the idea here, everybody. And if you're pumped up about 150s, that is amazing. I'm not poo-pooing on those. I'm just saying, have the aha moment that we have control over these things, everybody. Okay, so let's write this stuff down. Are they W-2'd? Are they self-employed? Do they have financial goals? What might they be? Because that could have an impact on how we communicate, so on and so forth. So we're going to go down the line here, right? And you're going to fill this stuff in. We put this in here because sometimes with serving divorcees could be a niche that you thrive in, as an example, right? So, or maybe it's newlyweds. All these sort of things are just trying to help your personality and the things that you love to do translate into how you put yourself out there to the world, right? That is really what we're talking about. So do both parents work? Maybe you love working with someone as a stay-at-home parent, a mom or a dad that stays home. Maybe you don't. Maybe you get along better or jive with folks that are both at work. Maybe you don't have kids and you work better with people who don't have kids. Again, it's not necessarily about any sort of negative segregating or anything like that, everybody. It's more about just trying to be aware of who we are and then also try to figure out who it is that we're best aligned with so we can have the most amount of fun every day when we're at work. So keep going down here. Niche number 1, finding out what are they into, right? Meaning the geographical area. There's different neighborhoods, okay? We all know this sort of stuff, and you could have 20 niches on here maybe, and you could explore that, because part 2 of this is finding out if they're out there. And if you don't have that tool, let me know, but we'll talk about that and check out. We'll put a link down below to go into that. But the bottom idea here is that, out of all the folks So we've bought and sold hundreds of houses on our own. We've personally owned a couple hundred houses. So just ourselves, we've done, I don't know, 400 and some transactions of properties that we have actually owned, right? Not to mention the ones that we've been involved in from a rental standpoint and or were involved in from just a traditional real estate standpoint. Okay, guys? So what we found is that they don't necessarily want one neighborhood all the time or one school district all the time. Sometimes they do, but sometimes there's a few different ones. So focusing on these, again, because we're reverse engineering what's going on and who our ideal customer is. Okay? Are they on there? Just put in the link so you can creep out and see what they're into, right? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Pinterest? Are they on YouTube? So on and so forth, right? Are they on meetup.com? I forgot to put that one in there, but I left a couple blanks here. And actually before, I'll add some more, but you could add some more on your own as well. Okay, so another thing that's important is in terms of who you jive with. Like, let me give you one example. Maybe you're a new agent, possibly, right? And you feel most comfortable with first-time buyers. That is a thing, okay? But some people that are new feel really confident talking with retirees. The idea here is that we have the awareness that we're working with people that we're excited about. It's not about anything else, okay? So who are they? Is it just tell yourself, are these the people, okay? Now, loans, that is a holy smokes, we could go into this for hours and hours and hours. Number one, please have the awareness that if you're going to do some marketing, that collaborating with a loan officer can be very, very powerful for yourself and for them on many levels, not to mention financial, but establishing these relationships in your community can be very powerful for those of you who already know what I'm talking about. Just give me a nod somewhere, wherever you are in the world, because I know that you agree with what I'm talking about. Some do not go so awesome, but for the most part, they can go really, really well if you execute your intent really well. So here's one that's fun. I could go on a soapbox for 10 years about this, but what is your ideal customer? What's their opinion of Zillow? So I talk to agents all day, every day. That's what I do, right? We're working with them, and 5% of the time I talk to someone who doesn't quote unquote hate on Zillow. One person in particular out of the Denver market who I just absolutely love. His spin on it is something that I try to emulate a little bit, but nonetheless, the point is that even agents don't like it. So how does that translate in the community amongst the consumers? Your ideal customer, where are they at and what Zillow does for them? Some consumers have the awareness that it's just one data point for them. Some think that Zillow is like the best thing since sliced bread to add value to their life, similar to the Zestimate. Some people actually believe, even some agents sadly, but some people actually believe that the Zestimate is really their value. So your customer, where are they at on that, right? And in a second here, I hope you see why that makes sense. So what are their extracurricular activities? And I could go on and on and on and on and on, but the point is, let's go to step 2. So step 2 is, where do they hang out? All right. So it's all the same stuff. I just kept it really simple. We found that trying to make it more complicated didn't really serve us. So this is it. Where do they hang out? Again, we're going through this to try to define it. And now what we're going to do is go over here and just brainstorm a little bit about where do they hang out. Some conversations could be around, are they on Facebook a lot? Are they on Instagram a lot? Are they on Pinterest a lot? Are they on this? Right? That is just more of a demographical makeup thing. When it comes down here into load programs, when they're searching for this information, meaning your ideal customer, where do they do it? What kind of information are they looking for, right? Do they just Google stuff? Do they go to meetups? Do they go on forums? And all these sort of things, right? And also in the community, where do they hang out? If they have kids, are they the volunteer coach? Are they in sports themselves? Are they just fresh out of college and so on and so forth? Are they retirees and they travel a lot and have a second home? Where do they hang out? What circles are they in? Where do they get their information when they try to make a decision about buying and selling real estate? Okay, that's what we're trying to figure out. rattled on about a whole bunch of these things because I don't want this video to get too long because I'll lose you, say. Okay, so now next is, I'm going to move my noggin. I don't know where. Put it right here, I guess. Is how can we add value? Okay, so based on who they are and where they hang out, how can I add value to them? Right? And on this next one, I'm going to talk about a few wow factors that we like to throw out there because they can be just incredibly powerful. But how do you add value? Okay, so one thing, like let's say, for example, that someone is comparing two school districts. It's a family, it's a husband and wife, they both have corporate jobs. This is your ideal customer. They're looking at two different school districts. They're neighboring each other. The price points are pretty similar, so on and so forth. Okay, that is your ideal customer. All right. So what you could do is you could publish vlogs, video blogs surrounding this subject matter, right? About this school district's pros and cons, this one's, or things that you love about it, and so on and so forth. Another idea would be maybe you're into retirement sellers. Oh, actually, let's not do that one. Let's do first-time sellers. I don't hear a lot of people talk about first-time sellers, and I personally think that this is an opportunity for a lot of real estates to jump on, which is the term first-time seller. Go ahead and Google it right now. There's not a lot of folks, I mean, there are a handful of people that focus on it, but you hear about first-time buyers till you're blue in the face. But first-time sellers, think about this for a second. What if this is your niche? What if these people are someone that you enjoy talking to? Okay, like don't force it upon yourself because it's an opportunity necessarily. Hopefully it's an opportunity and you enjoy it. That's the objective. But let's think about them for a second. If someone has owned a house, say for 4 years, and everything has gone relatively well up until now, and now they're going to sell it and they're going to move up. They don't know anything about selling a property. Think about all of the things that go into selling a property. There's the actual math, there's staging do's and don'ts. The list literally is endless about the things that they would love to have a trusted advisor on, or just someone that they can talk to that's local and knows what's going on in their hood. What are the trends? Maybe they don't need staging. Maybe professional photography isn't a trend in your area, but you offer it and you can talk about that and how big of a deal it is when you're selling a house for the first time in your area. So on and so on and so on and so on and so on. The idea here is that we've defined our favorite customer, we find out where they're trolling, and then we try to figure out based on who they are and where they hang out, how we can add value to their life. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is get their attention, add value to their life, have a successful transaction defined by you and defined by them, and then it snowballs. It snowballs, you guys, and it gets exciting, and it's a really fun, exciting life. When we did this for ourselves in the past, as well as when we help other folks go from the quote unquote grind. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you don't have to work hard because that's the foundation of everything. But when you feel like it's less of a grind because you get to work with cool people, oh my gosh, work isn't work. It's awesome. So that's what we're trying to do, you guys. And adding value to people that you enjoy is a fundamental part of it. So you go through this on your own. If you have any questions, again, I'll put a link below for how to engage with us on that. And then the next part here is a few fun things that we like to do. I'll move my noggin again. And some of these things you may have seen them a whole bunch of times in your life. It seems like it varies per the part of the country. For example, I've worked with a gentleman who it was culturally normal for them to do a bunch of repairs in properties. I brought that up to another customer that we had, and they thought that I was insane for even bringing that up. So please keep in mind that these are things that are potentially a cultural norm in one part of the country where they're just not in others. And those are ways where we can learn and we can find opportunities for us to deliver value. Because again, these things, hopefully, that we're talking about here are things that you enjoy, right? So maybe, let's see, the curb appeal package is a fun one, an easy one to talk about. So maybe you're super into gardening and flowers or the outdoors, I don't know, whatever you're into, or a DIYer, and it overlapped into that you really enjoy curb appeal. Number one, we all know that it's super important for the sale of a property, right? you pull up to that property for the first time, and or you see the picture on the internet. As soon as you see that thing, the seller has that much time to figure out if they're going to get the attention of their buyer, right? And ultimately, what's the seller trying to do? They're trying to sell as fast as they can, mostly, for the most amount of money they can. Like, that is the sort of the fundamental thing that most people are trying to do. There's definitely people that have other objectives because they have to sell on X date and all those things. You guys have stories till you're blue in the face. But here's the deal. So if you're super into curb appeal, offer a package to do it. Say, you know what? Here's the deal. Sign with me today. I'll pay for $1,000 of a curb appeal package and have it sort of a house in a box, a curb appeal in a box set up. I'll hire my lawnmower dude and they'll do this. And then I'll buy $100 of flowers and we'll put them in this pot. And we'll have a flower pot that's by the door to have some color here. And your house numbers are all falling off the house. How about we get some that look like this and da-da-da-da-da. I bet you they're going to sign every single time with you. Every single time, right? Maybe not. Maybe I'm crazy. But that's just one idea, okay? Now, if you're in a particular part of the country where $1,000 is just way too much, keep in mind I'm just throwing that out there, right? I'm simply throwing that out there as a way to get someone's attention while simultaneously adding value to their life and doing something that you enjoy. Another one that I really like is Voxer. So people that work with us we use Voxer. We really, really enjoy it. It's sort of like text, but different. It has, it's very similar to text. It's a little bit more private, which is great. But nonetheless, what if you just put out there to the world that you have unlimited Voxer? That's one way of doing lead gen, for one. But number two is communication is the foundation of all successful interactions. Would you agree with that? Right? So I should say good communication, not necessarily just communication. What we found is that this allows people to do it on their time, and it liberates them. If they have some wild, crazy idea and you're busy, right? What they can do is use Voxer. They can talk it into their phone. It'll send you a message. You get notified similar to a text or what have you, and you can respond via voice, again, similar to text. They can type too, right? But the idea here is that it sort of takes away this barrier of, can I ask a question? Should I? And it goes both ways, right? So what if you have a question about something that they need to do because they're now a customer and something needs to happen, right? What if it's getting down to closing or there's a showing coming up or what have you? The idea is that having this tool where communication is now really lifted on a pedestal and thought of as, we're on the same page. We really need to communicate, and you buy into each other as a team. This can be really powerful as well. And it's free. Oh my gosh. It's amazing. Okay. So one other thing that's really cool. This is one that we have seen be crazy successful personally, as well as have helped other folks do it. But we did a house years and years ago that was a really big deal. So we bought it for a ton of money and put way more. We bought it for $550,000 and put another $750 into it, which was pretty nuts. Okay, so what we had to do when we went to list it was get really creative, right? It was in a neighborhood where, first off, everyone thought that we were nuts that we did it in the first place. But it was in a neighborhood that was really cool, and the house was really amazing. It had crazy amounts of cool history, and it had sat vacant for a while. So everyone was sort of curious about what was going on, right? And this is a true story. And maybe all your properties aren't going to fit this, but I hope that this delivers the point. Okay, so what we did is that there was curiosity in the neighborhood, all right? And everyone in the neighborhood is curious about a property. See, imagine yourself in your neighborhood and a sign goes in the ground, okay? And all of a sudden you're like, I wonder what's going on over there. The Nelsons they're moving? Oh my goodness, okay? So what ends up happening is that with very simple effort, sometimes, not all the time, but with relatively minimal effort, you can have a ton of fun. Because maybe this is aligning with you. If you enjoy hosting parties, okay? So you're doing it at their house. It's getting attention to their property. You make it a big deal. You figure out a way to really leverage the coolness of this place and show it off. You have some wine and cheese, you do whatever you got to do. Our particular party, we had over 500 people at our party. It was a $1.85 million house. Okay. It sold in 7 days, and everyone immediately knew who we are right out of the gate. Okay, so now we all of a sudden have people asking us, hey, can you do parties for us? Can you list our properties? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do whatever? Because it was so effective. It was so much fun. It touched the community in such a way that hadn't been done. I can't tell you how big of a deal it was. And what was really cool about this one is that basically on accident, we got people to partner with us on it. So we had a collaborative loan officer go in on it with us. We actually had a local wine place bring beer, or excuse me, wine, because it was the fall, and it was harvest time, or I don't even remember all the funny details, but they brought in a couple barrels of wine. It was amazing. So nonetheless, it touched the community in a way that was really, really awesome. It probably cost us $1,000 on a $1.85 million house. The math is really good here, you guys, right? But the idea is that it doesn't even have to be that big. But when you can touch this community in a way like this and add value to it and bring it together, people want to pick their neighbor. People want to meet their neighbor before they buy a property, so on and so forth. These things make an open house kind of look silly, unless you're trying to get buyers from open houses. That's a whole nother subject, but this is a powerful thing. Okay, so thank you so much. Again, there's links below to check out other videos. If you want to schedule a call to reach out, so on and so forth. If you don't have the full mind map, please check out how to get that. And thank you. Again, this is Jeremy, Spectrum Real Estate. If you have any questions for us, please reach out, leave some comments, whatever fits your fancy, and have an awesome day. I'll talk to you soon.